Well, he is a man who is living in the Stone Ages when it comes to technology. Arnie Spanier, already rocking the beanie. Arnie, it's only mid-September. Is it already that cold in Vermont?
37 degrees
Are you?
when I woke up. So stop it. Go walk around here. It gets a little. I'm bald. Come on. What do you want from me? I'm not. Look, I have 2 seasons. I have a bunch of baseball type hats for when it's cold out, which is usually 40 degrees, 45 degrees. I have like 1,000 of these. So it's time to keep myself warm out here. It is Vermont, big boy.
Well, we know that when the sun, or excuse me, the snow comes out, you don't help your wife shovel. We know that. You've made that very clear.
Wait a minute. She's from Buffalo. She enjoys that. She if it's the littlest snow, she's going right out there. So she enjoy. I don't want to take away her enjoyment. What do you want? What kind of husband do you think I am if I took that away?
Yeah, and you're so nice to let her do it and say, honey, you're doing great over there. Keep it up.
I bought her the nicest shovel. It's like the Ferraris of shovels. It's got a bend in it. You can push it. You can lift it. It's got cushion around the handles. It's like the Ferrari of shovels. At least I got her the nicest one.
Was it a University of Arizona shovel? Because you would do that.
It was just a regular one over at Home Depot.
Oh, my gosh. Well, you can find Arnie on Twitter at Stinkin' Genius. I'm on Twitter at Bryan Fenley, and I just love it. I think I'd love to have you say one time, all right, everybody, the way you do it on the air.
All right. You mean when I go, all right, everybody, how you doing? The first segment, first hour, the best time to get in.
I love it. Oh, my gosh. That is a line that I love. Okay, let's go here. So you were on a dating show, and you let everybody in the world know that.
Dating show was the Newlywed Game.
Well, no, I was going to say, are you sure it was that? Because I thought it was The Bachelor, or was it that short-lived show, the How to Marry a Multi-Millionaire? Or Who Wants to Marry a Multi-Millionaire? Was that it?
No, it was the date. It was the Newlywed Game is what it was. So we got on after we got married, about a year after we got married. We were actually in Chicago, and the Newlywed Game came up to Chicago, and they were looking for Chicago couples. But we're not a Chicago couple, but we were living up there because of my radio job. And I said, and my producer had set up a tryout. So we went to the big hotel downtown, and it was in the ballroom. And I swear there must have been like 500 couples. And I turned to my wife. I said, I'm not waiting through this. I go, this is not happening. Because you had to play a mini game. You had to get up there with 3 couples, and you'd play a mini game that would take like 5-10 minutes. I go, we could be here for hours. And the lady who was giving out the thing, she goes, how about if you're couple number 5? 5-10 minutes. I go, we could be here for hours. And the lady who was giving out the thing, she goes, how about if you're couple number 5?
Ooh.
I said, that means you're the second game. I said, couple number 5, I can handle that. So we played our little mini game. My wife was fantastic. I was a doofus. When we got home, we left the ballroom, got home, I would say about 45 minutes later to an hour, there was already a message on our machine saying, we're picking you. You're coming to LA. Time to play the Newlywed Game.
Wow. What does your wife think about all the words you spew on the radio?
What does that mean? What does that mean? She doesn't listen to the show, so I guess,
why not?
I guess it doesn't bother her. No, you know what? She listens. I don't want to say all the time, but she listens to quite a bit. She knows we're just having fun, and my wife and I have a great relationship. We just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary.
Wow! Congrats.
So, she knows. She's been through me every step of the way in radio. Matter of fact, when we got back from our honeymoon, I didn't have my job anymore. I got fired from my job. So she got introduced to radio real quick, and she's been with me every step of the way, and now we're out here in Vermont.
Well, let's start at the beginning, because early on, you were not totally set on radio. Like, this was something that came in, in your 20s, and what were you thinking you wanted to be in life before sports radio came into the picture?
I wanted to play in the NBA, but I didn't think that was going to happen. I had a good shot. You laugh. Go ahead, laugh. I had a better shot than Kerr, and I told you that because I went to high school with him, and he made it to the NBA. I didn't know what I want. You leave Arizona. I was working at a company. You get one of those temp jobs. I was working for Showtime Advertising, and I did that for about a year. You know, you're like 22, 23. You have really no direction in life.
Yeah.
And I went to go see my brother play basketball one day in high school, and the local cable company was there, and the announcers didn't show.
That's
and
amazing.
I walked up to him and I said, hey, you know, I know my brother's team pretty well. I don't know the other team, but if you need some help, I can help you out. I'm wearing sweats and, you know, not even a suit. And they're like, sure. And that one time I did it, they called me back up and listen to this, you're going to love this. I don't do play-by-play. That's not my thing, but they needed help. They go, we do a local college up here in California, Los Angeles. Nobody really knows much about it. We're doing all their games, all their home games. Can you come out and do their play-by-play? I'm like, sure. You know, this is, what the heck? I'll do it for you. I don't think they were even paying me. It turns out to be LMU, Hank Gathers, Bo Kimball.
Wow.
I mean, you talk about having fun. And it was just remarkable. I mean, I'm calling play-by-play on television for a team that really is a legitimate top 25 team, but nobody really knew what was going on. And I lucked into that, and you know, then I kind of had the bug for radio after that.
Now, there is not one person on earth that you name drop more than Steve Kerr. If you were coming up in casual conversation with him, would he even know who you are?
What do you mean by the word who you are? No, yes, of course he would know, because I actually have a brother who's 6 years younger. So Steve is in between me and my brother. We all went to Pally, and they all hang around the same crew. Everybody knows each other. So he definitely know who I am. The funny thing is, when he was with the Bulls and made the game-winning shot in the championship, you know, all the media people were there, and we had a producer because we were living up in Chicago, and he's like, who's here from Arnie's show? And one of our producers raised their hand. He took the phone, called me up on the air. We went live on the air, and the first thing he said to me was, how are your New York Knicks looking now? So I wish I had that drop now, but yeah, I would think he'd say, if he says he doesn't remember, it's because he doesn't want anybody to know that he knows me.
Were you part of his crew in high school? Were you cool enough to be part of that crew?
I wasn't part of the look. I was like friends with everybody. I was one of the few. I wasn't really a great basketball player, but I was one of the bench warmers there. My best friend was Stuart Hoffman. I mean, for crying out loud, he became an orthodontist in Los Angeles. So I hung out with the nerds. I hung out with a few of the cool guys too. So I was kind of friends with everybody in high school.
You make it sound like you were the school president. I thought you were the class clown, but that's another story.
It's so funny because we have a reunion coming up, and I'm like, I don't remember anybody's name on this. Maybe I didn't have that many friends. Like, people and I dropped name people in our high school. I told you, we had one of those high schools that you have like one of those weird auras about you, and like crazy things happen. They filmed an iconic movie at our high school, Pacific Palisades High School, called Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh, yeah, let's. Yeah,
and the funny part is they took one of our high school football players, asked him to be in the movie. At first, I heard he didn't want to be in it. They talked him into it. He was going to go to UCLA. He took that one part, Brian, and he became an Academy Award-winning actor, and that was Forrest Whitaker. So,
wow.
From that one scene, and he must have been in high school. And then we had Penelope Ann Miller, who became a big-time actress. There's been a lot of famous people that went to Pally. It's kind of crazy to be on. Jay Schrader was our quarterback, and he played for the Redskins and the Raiders. So, you know, we just went one of those weird high schools like that.
And we had a fun dialogue because Sam Lagana, who went to high school with you, is the stadium announcer for the LA Rams. So
he's the athletic director over at Pepperdine.
Yeah, he's right up there in the higher ups.
Yeah, Sam's older than me though, so he's a year older. No, I remember Sam, and again, it was a small type community, so everybody kind of knew each other.
You used to have a ponytail? How long ago, or was it a rat tail?
It was more like a rat tail. You know, I tried to grow it, but then, you know, when you're in a fraternity and you try to do something new like that, and you try the mustache or the ponytail, and if God forbid if you have a drink too many, not that I did, and
No,
you're
of course not.
sleeping soundly, and then your roommates like cut it off and then shave off half the mustache, then it's not worth trying to grow it. Then, every time you get far, something bad happens and eyebrows missing. So no, I stopped doing it. I stopped doing that.
How good of a basketball player were you in your prime?
Oh, damn good. Yeah, I'm still good. I'm 57, and if they had an over 55 league, I'd have to be a lottery pick, I would think. I still play. I still play out here with the guys. We play 2-3 times a week until Corona happened. I was playing over at the YMCA league up here. They have a couple of great leagues out there. I come back to Los Angeles. I go down to Venice and play down at the beach down there with all the courts. Try to get on the main court. No, I still like it. I lost a little of my great speed there, Bri, but I can still get up and down the court, for goodness sake.
And hopefully one day you can dribble with your head up, and that's going to be part of what is next for you on the court.
Yeah, I'm working on that.
What's a stop in your radio career where at the time it was like, but then you look back and you're like, man, I really appreciated that?
Wow. There's been so much. I really didn't know what I was doing. I loved all my stops. Atlanta was a little bit shorter than the rest of them, and I appreciated being out there because I really liked the difference. I loved the college football out there. It wasn't so much where I went that I was kind of bummed, but I learned to appreciate it. And some of the jobs I didn't take, I think that kind of bummed me out. I was offered something up in Seattle. I was up for one of the jobs to replace Opie and Anthony in New York City. There was some jobs I just fell short, was one person short, or actually turned on down, that I look back at it and said, yeah, that would have been a good gig for you. That would have been awesome. When I got hired by CBS, I was going to Detroit. I was all pumped. I was packed for Detroit. I was 3 or 4 days from leaving till I got the call, and the person that hired me said, yeah, a little change in plans. I'm like, oh, great, they're not going to hire me. He go, we're going to, pass on Detroit, and we're going to send you to Dallas. I said, Dallas, Texas? He says, yeah, you've heard of it? I go, please don't do that to me. I'm like, I started to cry. Please, there's got to be another city. But I really did appreciate Dallas. That turned out to be a really, really fun time the years I was there. So that turned out to be a good time.
Arnie Spanier is with us. Follow him on Twitter at StinkinGenius1. He hosts a pair of shows on the weekend at Fox Sports Radio, both 8 to 11 p.m. Pacific. He also has his local show weekdays in Vermont.
And by the way, Brian, when you went by my high school so quickly, when you brought me up playing basketball, not only could I have played in the NBA, I could have been an NBA owner. You know that, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I totally could have foreseen that. How many minutes would you get in a high school game?
0. I get 0, but that's not the point I'm talking about, because Jeannie Buss went to our high school. And of course, right. I was a good-looking guy, so if I went up and said, "Hey, Jeannie, why don't you and I go to Westwood, catch a movie?" They had the Taco Bell there at the time.
Oh yeah, so, take your date to the Taco Bell.
Yeah,
that's really a way to get it going.
She would have fell in love with me. We would have gotten married, and I'd be half owner of the Lakers right now.
Wow.
So. Yeah, I know. It's so close.
How does your wife feel about this?
She says, good luck to me.
Oh, my gosh. What's the meanest thing somebody has said about you, like a troll on social media?
Oh, I don't know if like the meanest thing, just, you get the things like, oh, I bet you all 2 of your listeners are happy you said that. And I'm like, well, I'm sure they are then. I get used to it by now. You used to get trolled back in the days before there was, internet. They just call you up and give you grief. So, you'd have to deal with it like that. But, I deal with it. I try to make fun of it and you move on. I don't take it too serious. I don't take myself too seriously. So why should I take anybody else too seriously?
Oh, I think that's the perfect approach. How about on the air, when you did take a phone call, do you remember a time where it was like you totally got punked?
I'll tell you when I punked everybody else.
Okay.
I was in Los Angeles. I was on the air at Staples before the Portland Laker game. I think it was game 6, game 7. I don't remember the game. And back then, there was, I think where the Starbucks is now, it was empty. It was just big empty space with a glass thing. So when people were walking in the Staples, they could watch you doing the show.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they could watch you and listen to you. We had speakers outside. And I noticed when I went to a commercial, we cut the commercials off so the people in the street wouldn't hear it. But my mic was hot, was live. So when we went to a commercial, I was kind of clowning around and I go, "Welcome to Staples, Game 6 between your Lakers and Portland. Kobe Bryant, broken leg, listed as out for the game." And I thought that was funny. You know,
Yeah.
No. Somebody called my boss, I'm pretty sure it was the Lakers, and he called me. I'm not going to repeat what he said on here, but he pretty much said, "Stop now. You're going to stop that right now because it's not funny." But he used some other words, Bri. And I'm like, I guess maybe that wasn't the smartest idea, but a couple of my cohorts thought it was funny at the time. So who knows?
Yeah.
Hey, you have a little fun. Sometimes things go south.
And you weren't even supposed to be on the air at that point. Like, that's the thing, too. It was like in between segments.
Yeah, I got people riled up on that one. That was a good time.
Now, you've gotten people riled up when you have filled in for Ben Maller.
Yes,
and
I have.
The Maller Militia.
Who's the Maller Militia? Oh, yeah, yes, I've heard of them. Yeah.
They are a group that is very loyal to Ben.
Yes,
they can be a little bit a little tough to deal with sometimes, to say the least. How have you had to face their wrath?
It's been a while. You know, it's been a while because, you know, I kid around saying I'm never going to fill in for Ben again. It's actually the time, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. out here on the East Coast. It's just a killer because then I have to get up and I do a local show here in Vermont for a couple of hours. So it's tough to fill in. I was filling in, I think, during the holidays one time, and the Maller Militia were getting on me really big. And I said, "Oh, I'm going to get them good." I said, "I can't take this anymore." I said, "This is it. You guys win. You guys are too tough on me." I said, "I had to call up Ben. Ben's coming in to do the last 2 hours of the show. I'm gonna finish out the show. I'm gonna finish out the hour." This was like a half hour. Ben's in. He'll be here in a half hour. So I did half the show, 2 hours, where I go, "I can't take you anymore. Ben's going to start up the next hour." Then we found a video, or not a video, you know, like a cut of Ben doing an open, saying, "Hey, Ben, now blah blah blah." So like it was a regular open. So we played that, and people were like, "Oh my God, he really left! He really left!" And I came back and I go, "When did you think I was gonna leave? You suckers, you!" So that was pretty fun. I actually thought I left because we had Ben do the opening because it was saved up in the system, and it was like a good 30-40 seconds, and people actually thought I had left when we played that.
I love it. You had the last laugh, and I'm certain that they went right back to social media, those keyboard warriors that they can be. What's a behind-the-scenes look at how you prepare for a Fox Sports radio show?
I prepare too much. I know people say, "There's no such thing." Because, I do nights. I'm always looking. I'm always watching the shows, listening to the radio. I'm watching all the debate shows, looking on Twitter. I'm watching so many games that you really don't even have to watch, but I'm flipping through and stuff like that. So I feel like I over-prepare because you really don't need to watch, do I have to watch the Twins game tonight, or do I have to watch the
curling match,
baseball game 32?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to, choose the games we'll obviously talk about, are the big games. When it comes to college football, I watch everything, man. I just can't get enough of that. So, I'm always preparing. I'm always listening. I'm always watching. I'm always reading. I'm always talking to people. So, it's like an endless cycle. I don't know how many hours you put in, but it's always like that. You're always working on your show.
How do you decide what you want to lead with, how you want to fill each segment for the show?
Wow, you play the hits. It's really that simple. Yeah. Whatever I feel is important, I like to think that the audience would feel is important. There's only usually one or two or tops three that really can, take the lead. When you do a national, obviously it's a little different. Here, like on my local show in Vermont, we carry all the New England teams. We carry the Patriots, the Bruins, the Celtics, the Red Sox, and the Red Sox doing bad. So today, obviously, we'll lead with the Patriots and the Celtics, who play tonight. Game 1 Eastern Conference Final. So, you know, when's Gordo going to come back? How's the series going to go? They're slight favorites. Who do you like? You know, obviously we'll break down the game and just see, talk a little bit about Brad Stevens and stuff like that.
What's the worst take you've ever had on sports radio?
God, there's so many. We're the worst take I had.
But you're the stinking
radio.
genius. You're supposed to be the genius here of takes.
I think there was a couple of them. I think, remember the former Met Anthony Young when he went 1-18 or something like that? I said he was going to be the next Doc Gooden and be like a Cy Young Award winner. It's like, I got that one wrong. Yeah, there's been some bad predictions. Matter of fact, there was an article. I have an article on the wall that was written in Phoenix Magazine of all the predictions I got wrong. It took like 4 pages. It was like a 4-page article. I even didn't get the 5th page printed because it was too much to frame. But yeah, I mean, there was so many. There's been some bad. I think a couple of years ago, I had the Dolphins and the Giants in the Super Bowl. Should be fired for that. If possibility is going to fire me for something like that, for crying out loud. I don't know. There's been. I mean, if you're not getting a prediction or two way off base, then you're not doing your job, I guess.
There's really a thing to what is the Arnie Spanier curse. Now, if folks are new to this, Arnie on the radio will say my and then any team that is out there, and then all of a sudden that team unfortunately has a sequence of events that turn out really bad, and it is scary. Why is this, Arnie? Why have you done this to teams?
I don't know. I didn't know I had this power, Brian. If I knew, I'd be living in Las Vegas and think how much money I'd be making. You know, I'm having fun, and I'm like, sure enough, every time I say that, like something bad happens to that team. I'm like, you talk about bad predictions. I was clowning around and predicting like a USHL champion, and that team folded a day later. It's like, you know, I say my whatever, and they get like a major injury or their team goes bad. I had to change my Super Bowl pick already. I had Kansas City and the Cowboys. I can't pick the Cowboys now. And look how bad they looked in week number 1. So I don't know. At first I thought it was just funny. Then I thought it was a coincidence. Now I'm starting to believe I've got some type of curse or something in me. I feel like just saying my being poor, maybe I'll become rich or something. I'm going to have to figure this out, how I can make money off this curse, you know?
Arnie, you are already giving up on the Cowboys after 1 game, and goodness, didn't you see that missed call at the end of that game, the offensive pass interference that should not have been issued, and you're still giving up? Come on, Arnie. That's I would think better of you.
When they win, then I'll jump back up. But you see, if I say I'm no longer on my Cowboys, then they'll turn it around. And my producer Bobo, who you should have seen him on Sunday, he was like, he goes, okay, you're back in 3. He was just so aggravated. I'm like, dude, your Cowboys lost 1 game. Oh, I mean, he was like miserable. So I can't say my Cowboys anymore because he literally loses his marbles. If I was in front of him and I said my Cowboys, he would choke me out. He would physically attack me. So I don't know. Hopefully, maybe they turn it around for him.
Arnie Spanier with us. I'm Bryan Fenley. When was the time, Arnie, when you were over the course of your long-winded radio career, when you were the most outraged over a said game or a said topic, more than anything else that you've ever covered in your career?
Well, you mean just like, what is the biggest story? I mean,
yeah, that you had an emotional reaction to.
Well, I mean, look, I was on the air during 9/11. I mean, not when it happened. Yeah. Obviously, it happened in the morning. We went to national news radio. The 11:50 a.m. is where I was in Los Angeles. I did afternoon drive with Dave Smith. We went to the national news, and then we got a call from some of the bosses saying, you need to come in. We're going to go live with your show. And I'm like, wow, I'm not sure that might be a good idea because I know you have to say things. Sometimes you have to be politically correct. I'm not a political talk show host.
Sure.
And I don't pretend to be. But I can tell you how I feel. And I can tell you my emotions are going to come out on the air, which is what happened naturally with a lot of people. And I said some things that may be harsh now and may not be able to say it now. But, you know, I was saying things back then like, you know, we're going to get these guys and stuff like that. It was very emotional. People were crying on the air. And We took calls, and that's probably a day I'll never forget. But yeah, that was a tough one, no doubt.
How would you grade how you handled that moment? Because that was something that you probably nobody was ever prepared to be as far as a sports radio host, now moving into a different role here, and it was thrust upon you and you had to act on the fly really quickly.
Yeah, you know what? I probably didn't handle it too well, to be honest with you, because like I said, I probably said things you can't say now. You can't talk from emotion. You got to talk from the facts. You got to say, okay, what happened? What, planes went to the buildings, what's going on. I was speaking truly from emotion. Like I said, we're going to get this guy, and we need to retaliate, and stuff that really didn't need to be said at that time. So I probably didn't handle it as well as a lot of other news media would have handled it. I'm not a Walter Cronkite. I never said I was. So I would look. We end up getting guests. We had pilots on from American Airlines, United.
Oh.
So they helped out obviously, but I could have done a lot better job. I was a lot younger then, no doubt about that.
Turning it 180 here.
Yes.
The insurance part of your life, when you were selling insurance, when did that become so agonizing that you were like,
I didn't sell insurance.
You didn't? I thought you did.
No.
I thought I read an article where you sold insurance.
No, I'm like, where did I work for? Like, I didn't work for an insurance company. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't, something I didn't know. I didn't sell insurance.
But okay, so let's go before like you hit the radio business, because you have been open about like the struggles of breaking in, like breaking through. Like, how did you deal with that, and what sort of challenges did you endure when you were first trying to get a foothold in the biz?
I was very lucky. I didn't have to endure what kids and you guys have to endure now. It's really just that simple. I left school. I was at Giant Day. I had a friend of mine who also was trying to get into business, and he told me about a class at Santa Monica College about how to become a sportscaster. So I'm like, sounds good to me. How to be like an ESPN Sports Center anchor. So I took the class, and really taught me a lot. Taught us a little bit about radio, about television, and I'm like, I think I can do this. So I would make calls, see if I can get a job, and there was one company in Vegas that was a national radio company. There wasn't a lot back then. And I was hounding this guy, and he goes, where have you done a radio show? And I go, I've never done a radio show. So he goes, dude, go to Arkansas, go to Milwaukee, go to Oregon, and then call me back. But, keep in touch. And I kept in touch with him, and I called him every month, and nothing. Then I was just sitting up there in my house one day, and it was December. And it was him out of the blue. I didn't even know he had my number. And he goes, did you still want to do a show? I go, yeah, of course. He goes, we got Christmas Eve and Christmas. We got New Year's Eve and New Year's, midnight to 6. Drive here to Vegas. We'll put you up in some sleazy motel, and you can do the show. And I went up there. I did the show. It was pure terrifying. Didn't even have headphones. Didn't know how to punch up a call. The guy who said to come up and do the show never came to see me. He didn't really know I could have been a murderer. Did the show, and from that next day on, when I went into the office to thank him, I, for the most part, in 30-something years, have never been without a radio job.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you parlay those couple holiday fill-in roles to what led to more?
I went into the office to thank the guy. And I was sitting outside the office, and I could hear the door was closed, and I hear "F you, no F you," and people arguing. And next thing I know, the door opens up, and a couple of guys go out, and then 2 other guys go out. And I said, and I was sitting there, and one guy comes up and goes, "Who are you?" He said, "Who the F are you?" I said, "No." I go. My name's Arnie. I just wanted to thank Rod. Didn't even know which one was Rod. You let me do the overnights. I got a tape now. They're trying to get a job. Just wanted to thank you. Wanted to meet you face to face. Does you want to F and thank me? I go, yeah, I want to thank you. He goes, thank me today. You could do noon to 3. I said, okay. So I did the first week, noon to 3. They brought me into the office. They said, hey, we really like you. Do 3 to 6. So I was doing 3 to 6. Before me was Bill Mad Dog Matlock, the former baseball player, 3-time batting champ. I think 3-time batting champ. And after me was Pete Rose from Boca Raton, Florida, from his restaurant.
Oh, my gosh.
So I'm like, 1 week I'm sitting on my parents' guest house doing nothing. And then 2 weeks later, I'm in between Bill Madlock and Pete Rose doing a national show. And I ended up doing that for about a year and a half, about a year. And then as we got more and more affiliates, more and more would call me. And Phoenix called me. And I got really interested. And then I ended up taking the job in Phoenix.
What were you thinking when you were at your parents' guest house and trying to make a life out of what you were trying to do, and you just kind of were playing the waiting game?
I really didn't think about getting into radio because sports radio was just kind of starting. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I just kind of wanted a job. I just wanted to get money, get out of my parents' house. I didn't want to stay with my parents anymore. So I just wanted a job. So as for waiting for radio, it really didn't occur to me that was going to be my future. I was doing the play-by-play for Loyola. And like I said, there was very few stations, one network. ESPN wasn't around, Fox wasn't around, CBS wasn't around. There was nothing, just this one lone network out there. So it wasn't like that was the way to go. I applied for a few jobs, but it wasn't like I was waiting around for radio to come to me. I didn't even think that was going to be an opportunity to make a living doing that, to be honest.
Finally, Arnie, my last question for you. Arnie Spanier with us, Fox Sports Radio host, also does a weekday show in Vermont. I'm Bryan Fenley, an FSR anchor. How did the journey lead you to FSR and that becoming a presentable opportunity that led to both sides saying, you know what, we're going to bring this guy on?
Yeah, can you believe it's been 9 years now? I think,
wow.
Chris Plank and I, who do Sundays. That's good English. We've been doing the show together for 9 years. Me and Torres on our third year on Saturdays, but I've been doing Saturday by myself or with other people, but Torres has kind of settled into that song on Saturday. I was in Dallas working for CBS. I was kind of done with that. My son played hockey. Remember, he played for the Junior Kings, the Junior Stars, the Junior Coyotes. We were going back to Buffalo, where my wife is from, to go to this private school, get a good education and play hockey. He was there for a couple of years. And when I was up there, I really wasn't doing much radio. I was working for a station up in Toronto a little bit. And Bruce Gilbert, who I worked for in Dallas, took over for Fox and said, hey, we could use you for the weekends. There was a station in Rochester I used. So I did it from there. And then I ended up moving to Vermont and put one in my house. And that's real easy now. Everybody's doing it from their house. Everybody has a studio in their house. So I was ahead of the game 5-6 years ago. And now it works just like you have your own studio, and been there 9 years and been on the weekends. So it's been great. Weekends and fill-in.
Have you ever had a dog intrude on your
show? I got Mr. Barksdale, who I got as a rescue, who was named after Mr. Barksdale on The Wire, who I guess is a drug dealer. And then I got Stanley. His name is Lord Stanley for the Stanley Cup. They've barged in here before, and you can hear them barking. But thank goodness I'm on from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern on the weekend. So they're usually the dogs are asleep, and my studio's away from everybody else. But they've intruded, and sometimes I've left my blinds open, and you can see people walking by. But otherwise, the dogs have been great. Not too many times have they bothered me.
I have my dog right now, and she's laying on my bed, and she's been really good. She hasn't gotten up and barked, and so I know what that. Huh? She's like, "Whose voice is that?" But Arnie, your show on the weekends, it's afternoon drive in Fiji, so you have to give yourself a little bit more credit than what you just did. Arnie Spanier, Fox Sports Radio host, all-around great guy, weekday show host in Vermont, has a great personality. Listen to him on the radio.
Does that mean I'm ugly? I have a great personality. So Come on now.
Well, I wasn't going to go that far. I still can't get over the fact that you're wearing a beanie right now.
Yeah, my Arizona hat, my Kent State, where my son plays hockey. So
okay.
I had to come representing.
I like it, and that's one way to cover up your baldness, and I get that as well. That's a secondary benefit. Oh, there she is in the background right there. All right, so Arnie, we appreciate you, and I can't wait for the opportunity to listen to you this Sunday. And next time, help your wife out shoveling the snow, all right? Instead of barking orders, why don't you actually get involved and help out?
I'll take a picture of it, and I'll go ahead and put it up there for everybody to go ahead and see that I'm actually shoveling out there, Bryan. Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm just glad that you had everybody in the world on before me. Every people who were out in the streets, people you didn't know. Hey, will you come on? We have nobody else other than Arnie. So you guys first, and then we'll ask Arnie on.
Well, look, I had to go deeper in the bullpen to get Andy Furman. I mean, Andy Furman is like table scraps compared to you. And I can't wait to share with him that clip. Arnie, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again.
Thanks, Bryan. Appreciate it, my friend.